Good
Hey,
afternoon, world. Cipher Session here. I am the Abundant Alchemist.
I'm Enrique.
I'm Johan.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Ramir. He goes under the Instagram name Ineffable Media. And we're very excited for what he has to share and bring to our followers.
Let's bring him in. Ramir, welcome.
What's
Welcome,
going on,
Ramir.
man?
Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Ramir, I'd like to begin by asking you to tell us a bit about yourself and your take on the concept of buying time. Without further ado, we just want to cut right into it.
That sounds good. Yeah, I love the concept of buying time. Hello, everybody. I'm Ibn Ramir Alamin, also known as the Mental Alchemist, and I like to talk about this subject matter. So, just basically, what I have done over the past few years is, had a lot of conversations with people about, entrepreneurship and business, and what I've come to find out that there was a lot of missing gaps in between how we kind of process information about, investing and stocks or whatever the case may be, securities. And so I became really interested in, the business space and the space of like education, and started to, help people to kind of structure things a little bit better as far as how they think about their goals and stuff like that. So, so that's just a, pretty, general overview, and just looking forward to having this good dialogue about buying time.
Excellent.
With that, right, with your background and your experience, one thing that we have noticed in the social media world when we go through comments is we'll hear people say that they don't have enough funds to invest. If someone brings up a particular coin, some of the comments that you'll read is, oh, I don't have enough to invest in cryptocurrency, or I don't have enough to invest. What advice would you give, or what can you recommend to our viewers to get them started on their journey?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a really good question. One of the biggest things that I like to focus on is what I like to call economic organization. And a lot of times we're unorganized, like we don't have our money segmented very well. And what I mean is, like, most people actually generally have just a checking and savings account. I advocate for having at least 4 accounts, right? You can have them with the same bank or you can have them, set up as long as you just have some little bit of cash in there, right? Because what you realize is when you start to segment your money, and let's say you only have one checking account that dealt with investing, you'll find that, even that $5 or $10 can be a really big deal. You know what I mean? As long as you keep it in there and you only use that one account. So my encouragement is to just start, take acknowledgement, start where you are, and just build from there. Like literally start with the $5. Like you can really get in the game, and you're going to start to feel comfortable about this process, which makes you want to do more.
Excellent.
Yeah, man. Another thing, Ramir, that we see is that when it comes to banks, most people don't trust the banks, and I think in crypto you kind of see the same thing where people are kind of second guessing themselves of like jumping in and like giving the exchange their KYC, and all that information. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, as far as like setting up crypto wallets, that's what you mean, your nose?
Yeah, like getting into Coinbase and putting in their social, putting in their address and all that information.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, Ramir, how would you introduce the economic structure unit concept that you've coined? How you would think that crypto in particular could be leveraged in such a system for our audience, our listeners' benefits, our viewers?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Manolo, because I had did a video on my Instagram, and I called it "You Should Have 3 Banks." And what that basically means is you have your traditional banking, you have decentralized with dealing with crypto, and then you have your business account and whatever it is that you're doing, right? Even something like this that you guys have in this platform is a media company, you know what I mean? And so even just kind of getting started with crypto, like just don't feel you don't have to be afraid. I mean, in most cases, you have to always verify your information, even if you were to open a bank account. So that's really not a big deal. You are opening a
Right.
bank account in essence. It's just a decentralized bank account. And so when I've used the analogy of having the three banks, there's always going to be a state of a place for documentation. But I want, my encouragement is to actually start to do these kind of things so you can actually feel comfortable going through that experience, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And it actually will help you in the long run. You know what I mean? To keep your stuff organized. So I'll say it this way. The ubiquitous, they know who you are. Don't make a big deal about it, if you will. I mean, the level of information you actually give up on your cell phone to have apps. I mean, you have no clue. That's why the algorithm on your phone changes. That's a different subject matter. But just my encouragement is just to get in where you are. And that's just an element to it. And it's not a big deal. It's like signing up to do Instacart. Don't make a big deal out about it.
Right. Yeah, because we were talking amongst ourselves how, most people, when they open up their first bank account, they really don't understand. And even as they let time pass by, they don't fully grasp the banking system, but we still all participate in it, right? And that's pretty much how we are seeing crypto. It's like a decentralized bank, and many, when they first delve into this space, may not fully grasp how it works, but we see it as a form of leveraging and getting a deflationary action in an inflationary environment that we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. When you and I said kind of got together on our own, different kind of, Cipher, we had talked about that, right? I mean, literally you can have the potential to wake up and you can have a coin, go up 10% like that day. And that's not something that you can generally get from other investments or securities, and so this has a different element to it, and it's very specific, and it's worth learning about to, getting in, incorporating it, possibly incorporating this as a part of your economic structure or your economic organizational system. You know what I mean? I don't do a whole lot in this, in as far as like my crypto wallets, but I still participate, and then I'm still ever learning, right, with all of these different modalities and applications of for use, like real world use case for a lot of these cryptocurrencies, because a lot of them actually are backed by real use case protocols. So it's just good to get started, man. Really.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's a good point, and I think Manolo made a good comment, right? And so we're trying to bring information to the viewers so that they're able to make some type of investing decision, right? Because sometimes it's better to be in than to be out, right? The money that you waste, it goes away. If you invest, is there a possibility that you lose? Yes, but is there a possibility that you gain? There is, right? And so to Manolo's comment, right, opening up a exchange where you're able to invest, in my opinion, is a good idea, right? Because what you're doing is you're taking your money that currently is subject to inflation, so it's losing value. And so you're hedging against inflation by investing in a deflationary asset, right? And so there's tons of ways where you can get returns, right? Staking, farming, and we'll go into more details in other episodes. But yeah, it's just putting the information out in the ether.
And I wanted to add this, and I have a few. I have a few of crypto.com, but let's just revisit that for a second. Crypto.com, right? They actually do a lot of marketing and advertising. If you're on YouTube and you don't have YouTube Red, like you're gonna see the marketing for crypto.com. They have the NFTs. They have they bought in essence the naming rights to the the stadium out. Manola, help me
Staples
out.
Center.
Right in.
Staples
Yeah.
Center. Yeah.
You know, like I'm here in what we call the DMV, or the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and one of the things that I recall from being up here for a considerable amount of time is, there used to be, we have Capital One Arena right now, which is where the Wizards play, but at one point it used to be the Verizon Center, and so now the Staples Center will forever be known as Crypto.com Arena. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge thing, and that will make a lot of economic impact for their space. You know what I mean? So I'm not soliciting that you should have some, but I do. When you start to kind of think about crypto as far as a CD, like we call it staking, and there's just different vocabulary words. And in the traditional banking market, you can open up a CD account with your primary bank, right? But interest rates are very low, so you're only getting 0.125%. 3.00% if you're with Navy Federal, but interest rates are really low. So this construct of staking is like having, in essence, a crypto CD, and so there's a whole different level of vocabulary. There's a whole different culture around the crypto space. So that's all it is. They're just vocabulary words, and a lot of times we don't do stuff because we might not understand the verbiage. But to me, that's what I call staking. Like staking is like having a crypto decentralized coin CD. Yeah.
I love it.
Right. So Ramir, how would you describe the economic storage unit concept? Just a light introduction to our viewers and how it could possibly benefit them.
So the way that I look at things is based upon a principle or concept that I call ESUs, or economic storage units. And pretty much what I find is that a lot of times people don't have a level of resonance with a lot of these vocabulary terms, and they might be confusing, and they might not have grown up with that level of information. So what I do is, when I work with people, we have a whole different set of vocabulary that we uses, which allows you to kind of ease your emotional set base to be able to like kind of, keep moving. So, crypto is an exchange of, well, it's, you can storing value in this thing that we call a token. So I call it an economic storage unit. Stocks could be, stocks are the same way. If you have an M1 account, which I'm a fan of, M1 Finance, I think they're like the bigger brother to Robinhood, right? It's an economic storage unit. You can start to store some capital over there, and you could get, some monthly dividend stocks, right?
Could you unpack that, the M1 concept, to our viewers that may not be familiar with that?
Sure. So, M1 is, M1 has a, they're a fintech stock brokerage account. That's what they are, just like Robinhood. You know what I mean? And they might have they have a different software layout and stuff like that. They do offer a debit card, and one of their premium packages allows you to actually get 1% APY on your debit card balance and 1% cash back. So like, it's a great tool that you could actually, take advantage of. That's pretty much what I'm saying with M1.
Got it.
You also touched on Latif and Steph. Do you mind explaining that? I think that's a
that's a pretty cool concept.
If you don't mind.
Yeah. So the way I look at things is the basis of relationships. So you have Steph, or your short-term emergency fund. And if Steph were to have an economic love language, it would be consistency, right? So Steph's economic love language is consistency. So it doesn't matter if you're able to fund this account. The whole goal is to have this account not attached to anything that you already have. That means like whatever your current banking, your primary bank, this would be something maybe like an Ally Savings, or DCU is a good one, Digital Credit Union. They offer 6% currently up to the first 1,000, right? You want your savings account. This is for people who generally have issues with saving money. So if you can just be consistent, right, and then send $5, $10, $15 with that level of consistency, right? What's going to happen is it'll consistently build, and you're going to get used to not having it. So that's what Steph's economic love language is about, right? Latif, or LTIF, is your long-term investment fund. And pretty much what that means is that you're going to have one designated checking account to actually fund any and all investments. Okay, so that allows you, that's a great principle to kind of start with, because I have a program that talks about, how to run your life like a business. And part of running your life like a business is to have really great money segmentation. So Latif is a checking account to where you're constantly investing in and out of this account, right? So all you're doing is making sure that it always stays funded, and so that you can actually use this one account to invest, right? So that's the concept of Steph and Latif, so that's, you're actually saving on both ends, right? And Enrique, we had kind of talked about that. Like the concept is that you're always saving, but with this type of model, we're actually saving a little bit less with capital, but we're actually investing more with Latif, and they're working together in tandem. So that's my concept for Steph and Latif.
Right.
Love it.
So you're kind of hitting it from both angles. Like,
right.
No matter what, you're always saving and keeping that as a habit.
Exactly. Like one of the biggest things I did last night, I'll share since the last time we had talked, was there is a software application called Prosper, right? And if you don't know, Prosper deals in peer-to-peer lending. So literally people are signing onto this platform. They're signing onto the platform, and maybe they want to do debt consolidation, or maybe they want to put solar panels on their roof, and they get approved to get a loan. You're being a hard money lender. So you can actually be a hard money lender by investing in that particular note. And apparently you get paid out a percentage on a monthly basis, right?
It's funny that you bring that up, Ramir, because I've actually invested in Prosper, and
right.
You could kind of gauge your risk. This isn't a commercial for Prosper, but it's like you could gauge your risk. You have your A+, your A negatives, your Bs, and then you could kind of be risky with a certain percentage of the money that you're putting in. And over time, you'll have 12 months, 24 months at which that amount is due. And people that otherwise wouldn't want to go to a centralized bank or what have you,
exactly.
The peer-to-peer mechanism is put in place. So yeah.
And that's really huge, because we're you can also do that in the crypto space too, right? Like you literally can have your own banking system. That's why I said, having 3 banks, right? Because in the traditional, we're mostly familiar with the traditional. I think Enrique alluded to the fact that, a lot of people don't know how the traditional banking structure still works. We're a little bit behind the curve, but things like the internet, conversation, content creation is changing this. But even in the crypto space, you can do the same thing. Like you literally can, take a loan out from your wallet, this stuff is unheard of. You know what I mean? It really, in my opinion, it boils down to what it is that you want to do, knowing your why, and just taking an assessment of what are your personal goals that's really based on your why. But people are doing this. This is an unprecedented time of progressive software technology changes, and so just ease yourself into it. I kind of mentioned a few things that hopefully are helpful. Steph, Latif, right? We save less with our cash savings. We invest a bit more that we can take a higher level of benefit or consistent, income coming back into that same checking account. And then you have your crypto wallets, right? But get familiar with the space, and always, it's not investment advice, but never risk more than you can lose. But at least start where you are so that you can get some emotional familiarity with the space. That's my encouragement.
I think it's a good point. And if I think about that, um, the crypto space is or the world of DeFi, if you will, right? It's so different than the modern day quote unquote centralized banking system, right? Where there's a lot of you rely heavily on the banking institutions, and so you'll walk into a banking institution and you'll say, can I get a loan? And sometimes you may have money in the bank sufficient enough to back a loan, but you won't get the loan, right? Where the crypto world, you kind of pull the money, you pull the power back to yourself in a way because it's decentralized. If you have coins, some of these exchanges will offer you loans against the coins that you have, right?
Exactly.
So it's two parallel worlds, right? That they're just running side by side, where you have centralized world that everyone is pretty much used to, right? Every day you go to your bank and that's how you interact. You have to make a payment, you use a debit, credit card, right? In the future, decentralized finance, you're borrowing money against crypto you're paying things with QR codes. It's a fascinating world, and I think if you're able to get ahead with enough time, you'll be ahead of the curve.
I definitely agree with that. It's an unprecedented time. Like the choices, we're talking about tools that we can actually have that people did not have decades ago. And a lot of it is just getting the information out there, but a lot of it's actually taking action on the information. That's another huge part. You know what I mean? To me, this is the year of EOI, economic organization and implementation. And that just means that learn something and then go do something, right?
Yes,
I think
sir.
we have like 50 weeks left to the end of the year. You know what I mean? If you do one thing each week, you can literally change the needle into a totally different, change the needle of your life in a totally different direction. But with a lot of the tools that we have, like you mentioned, Enrique, like you have the potential to literally become your own bank. I mean, even something juxtaposing that to M1 right now, once you have $5,000 stored, right? We use the concept of ESU or economic storage unit. You have $5,000 stored. Maybe you have a mix of quarterly and monthly dividend stocks. That's what I do. I deal with a lot of monthly dividend stocks. I love that kind of concept. But you could actually borrow 35% of, whatever that amount is. So, it's different. Just like you said, a lot of people might be dealing with credit issues right now. There's a lot of that going on with, between, COVID and so on and so forth. So, but even if you, like you said, you could have the actual $5,000 in the bank, but then you can't get a loan because of your FICO score. But if you had $5K stored in an economic storage unit like M1, they're going to stroke you the check. You know what I mean? Right. And you can, maybe it's a project that you want to do. Maybe it's for the down payment on a home. Maybe it's to get in, create a business, start a business, get in with Turo or something like that. You know what I mean? There's so many different applications for having more structure and power in your personal economics. So that is a huge and powerful thing. Definitely.
Right. Yeah. And like applying your way of structuring your money into different buckets like that and kind of cycling so that you're in essence almost paying yourself for taking care of things that you'd be paying for anyway. Right. In crypto in particular, and I could attest to this, I've taken out a loan with Celsius on Bitcoin because I've had a conviction that Bitcoin is going to go higher. So it's like I could, for example, borrow $500 towards my Bitcoin using that as collateral. And by the time that note is due, I pay them back and my Bitcoin is worth more than it was when, and you can't do that in the old system, so it's a great way rather than selling in order to put some money in your pocket.
Right.
If you could kind of see where the market is heading, you could take advantage of that. And it's a great choice to have.
You're hacking the matrix, Manolo.
Yeah. Right.
Ramir, I have running out of time, but I have one question that I would love to ask you.
Sure.
At what point did you realize that crypto was the new wave, or it was going to take over?
Oh, dude, man, I gotta say, man, the first time I actually had my my Coinbase card and went to go dinner, like I literally like I'm
Mm.
gonna test this out. And once I was, open up the application and I'm sorry, I opened it up. I had it for a while, but then they had an opportunity for you to get your card, right? So that's the sequential order of events. And when I got my card, I'm learning more about it. I'm going through some YouTube content and so on and so forth. And then I'm looking at this part that says pay, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can actually select the coin I want to spend. And I'm like, that's crazy. So at the time I
It
had like
is.
15 different tokens. I had like $100 in each token. I'm like, I could actually pick the type of currency that I actually want to use. So I think the night that I, wanted to test this theory, I actually, I think the meal was something like 60 some dollars. And I'm thinking it was, I can't remember which one. I don't know if the ETH had gone up, right? So I think I was using ETH because I was like, I think that's kind of, safe or whatever.
Right.
So that the card would work. So the ETH had gone up. This was like over the summer. So the ETH had gone up something like 10 or 15%. And I'm like, hold on. If the money that I had went up 10 or 15% within a short amount of time, then my meal is actually cheaper than what it was if I just paid for my debit card. And then, the guy gives me the receipt and I give it to him, and then he actually comes back with the receipt. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, there is a fee associated with because it's like you're selling it to do this kind of exchange, because that's what it is. You're exchanging your tokens for goods or services, right? That's what a negotiable instrument is. And so, but again, if you're up 15 to 20% on any particular token, anything that you actually purchase is cheaper. And the fact that crypto has the propensity to actually, granted, it's very volatile at times, but this is where the education comes in, because you legitimately could be up 5, 10, 15, 20, 17% in just a few hours, right? And then you go out to eat and it's almost like your meal is free, like that. Where else can you?
Yeah, and you know what? Applying that to something like food, where we're seeing inflation really show itself, it's just a great tool to kind of offset that.
Absolutely. Which is one of the considerations of what we kind of talked about in the beginning of buying time. Like that's really what it is. You don't have to prepare for retirement today and the old way of how we used to think about it maybe 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. You literally can buy the time. So when we start talking about investing, we're investing to buy time to offset expenses, the subscriptions, the house, the mortgage, the car insurance. That's really what we kind of want to focus on and kind of make that a commonplace conversation. So
Awesome.
that's what I wanted to share, man.
Excellent. So I mean, could you just tell us, some things that you may have coming up, or
Yeah, plug yourself in. Where can people find you?
So right now, I'm going to be, I'm progressively working on, thanks for posting that, So that's my primary, Ineffable Media, and, just to kind of branch out. I eventually want to get into the podcast concept. And right now I'm actually creating a university, Money Matrix Blueprint University, where I can actually, take you through this process, this mental archaic process of changing the way that you think about your relationship with money by partially changing your vocabulary, understanding the vocabulary terms that we already have, and just making it a very casual, simple conversation, and then building an economic structure on top of that. So a lot of these things that I learned generally come from the business world. And so what I want to do is marry the business world for, in with for the everyday man and woman, right? So you can run your life like a business, which is the core of, I guess, my message to millions, right? You can run your life like a business and you can cash flow like a CEO. And so once you learn how to do that, your life changes, because you're going to have new skills, new ways of thinking about it. And you're going to also as you go through this process, and actually as you go through the material, you're going to really, you're really going to rewire your neurophysiological programming. That's really what it is that we're doing. Because once you really start to understand how this is off topic, but on topic, once you really understand how the neuroscience works of changing the way that you think, you're gonna get that feedback loop of, hey, I'm going in a good direction. This feels good. You're going to get your dopamine hits there, right? Everyone loves their dopamine hits, you know, from TikTok and social media, but you're going to get your own dopamine hits within you in your personal development, you know,
In your favor.
And I got another saying, it isn't mine, but I always like to share it, you know, outside of running your life like a business or cash flowing like a CEO, you know, entrepreneurship is just self-improvement disguised as business, you know, so it's a great time to be creative with the internet, and it's to be creative with NFTs. It's to be creative with, you know, LLCs and perhaps even like DAOs, right? Because they're on the up and come up. And that's a totally different conversation for another day.
We'll definitely get into that. Yeah.
So like that can literally be the new LLC of the future. You know what I mean? But another conversation for another day. So yeah, that's really my thing. I love what you guys doing, and I'm just a fan of like real, you know, I guess I gotta say it, real education in 2022, right? You know what I mean? Like relationship based, entertainment that's relationship based, where even like a session or good energy vibe like can literally change your life in 30 minutes. I think
for sure.
Like it.
And you'll definitely be back. So Ramir, this is the first of many.
We have so much more to unpack.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Love to
I
have you back.
appreciate it.
Pleasure having you. Just want to remind everyone that this weekend or next week for the North American Bitcoin Conference, we'll have a presence there. So Cipher Session will be there live. We'll do some calls on there just to provide you, the viewers, some updates of how it's going in the North American Bitcoin Conference, some takeaways from some of the speakers. So be on the lookout for some videos next week with regards to the North American Bitcoin Conference.
Awesome.
And with that said, everyone,
Ramir, thanks for being on.
Ramir, thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. I really do. I can be long-winded, but I'm just, you know, glad to be able to, you know, share amongst people who want to share and educate. So definitely love that sentiment.
We appreciate it.
We'll have you
Thanks
back.
a lot. All right, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. Talk soon.
Ding.
Cipher out.
Peace.
Cipher out. Thank you.
Cipher out.